Welcome to our second annual Mega Wellness Summit, where we are transforming lives one aha moment at a time. I'm your host, Nikki Jencen, and thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this event with your friends and family. You are in for a great treat today because we are chatting with my favorite, Jimmy Moore and Maria Emmerich. Hey, guys, how are you?
Hey!
Woo! All of a sudden, I adopted like a Texas accent. I'm not exactly sure where that came from.
A Texas accent? Maria's from Wisconsin. I'm from South Carolina. Where's Texas come into this?
I don't know. And I'm sitting here in San Diego, so I'm not exactly sure, but it has now passed. Yeah. Is it snowing in Wisconsin?
No, it's raining. It's 48 degrees out. I almost asked my husband to get my bicycle down.
This is crazy weather. Crazy.
I know. We actually built a huge fort, and I put a bunch of cool sticks over the top for the roof, and now we just have a whole bunch of sticks in the yard.
Oh, wow.
No more snow.
No more snow. Like,
Meanwhile,
yeah, I used to
70
live there for
degrees
8
here
years.
in South Carolina.
Oh, is it really?
It's 70 right now, yep.
Yeah, it's 70 here, too.
It's wackadoodle. Of course, you expect that in San Diego, not in South Carolina in December.
That's true.
For sure.
So, guys, I just have to say congratulations on your book, the Ketogenic Cookbook. It's amazing. By the way, I'm in love with the book, okay? So, first of all, it is one heavy book, and
you don't want to drop it on your foot. You'll hurt somebody.
Exactly. But it is filled with so many goodies.
Thank you. Jim, I was going to say, someone actually said, I love the book on Amazon. They said, it's my favorite book ever. Loved all the recipes, but it's too heavy.
That is what they said.
It's too heavy. It is really heavy. I know if I wanted to cart it around, I'd have to, like, bring a suitcase with me or something.
And then somebody else said, you could have put about 60 more recipes in there. And I was like, where? It would have been like War and Peace if we'd done that.
Yeah, no way. You're now, Maria, this is our first interview, and so I'm so grateful to be chatting with you. This is my second interview with Jimmy, and he was on Mega Wellness Summit in 2015, and really, I just think the world of you, Jimmy. I think you know that.
Thank you.
But Maria, this is our first interview together, and I just really want to say that your story in the cookbook touched my heart, and Jimmy's did too, don't get me wrong, but he touched my heart a long time ago. And
I love you too.
And, you know, we can have the same story where you put on your friend's coat, and it was from the movie, you know, from Tommy Boy, that guy in a little coat, right? And that reminds me of my own story as growing up as a fat child. I'm going, yep, I totally get it. I totally get it.
Oh, you really did read the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, see, now I sound like I'm from Wisconsin. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there, hey.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, oh, my gosh, it's a fun book. I love the recipes, and I'm going to tell you, I was a little bit fearful I don't know why I was fearful, but I thought you were going to put a lot of dairy into the book, and there's not a lot of dairy, so thank you.
You're welcome. I actually put all of my clients on dairy-free right away, and so that's why it was important that if it does have dairy, I wanted a big old sign saying, you know, this has dairy, or this one is dairy-free, or what's a dairy-free option. So,
yeah, and I know that you guys use some cream cheese in some of your recipes, but it's not overloaded with lots of dairy, which would kill me and my gut. So,
and there's options for no dairy, even in the ones that do have the dairy. Maria was really brilliant at doing that.
I see that. I know. For the folks who are listening on this call right now, go to Amazon, go to your local Barnes & Noble, and go get the Ketogenic Cookbook. It is amazing because there are so many ingenious recipes in this book, and I am loving every single one of them.
Oh,
and
thanks.
Yeah, you guys are just brilliant together. And I wanted to know, what prompted this genius book?
You have to ask Jimmy that, because he's the one that shocked the heck out of me when he asked me to join us.
I read that. You were like a little 11-year-old schoolgirl.
Yep.
So Nikki, it was so funny because when you had me on last year, we were talking a bit about my book, Keto Clarity, which was a huge bestseller in 2014. And I believe I told the story how my publisher didn't believe ketogenic diets was anything of interest to anybody. And I wanted to write Keto Clarity the year before, and they're like, well, nobody's really interested. So they kind of had me write the cholesterol book first. Cholesterol Clarity came out in 2013. So then 2014 came around. I said, can I please write that ketogenic book now? And they said, okay, but we don't think it's going to do very well. So we put it out in August of 2014, and in 1 week, we sold more copies of Keto Clarity than we did the whole first year of Cholesterol Clarity. So needless to say, Victor Bell Publishing quickly became very, very big fans of ketogenic diets. And about 2 weeks after it came out, Keto Clarity came out, they said, we want a cookbook. And I said, well, my co-author on the Clarity books, Dr. Westman, he burns water, so he's not going to be a good co-author for a cookbook. I said, can I please go find somebody that I know knows how to make low-carb ketogenic recipes and do it well that I would like to work with? And they're like, absolutely. So the person I called her right away. I said, Maria, give me your phone number. I want to talk to you about something. And so get her on the phone. And I say, hey, you want to collaborate on a cookbook together? And you would have thought it was like a little girl being told she's going to get to go backstage of a One Direction concert. That's how excited she was to be working with me on a book, and it was a mutual excitement. I think the end product is the result of our mutual respect for each other.
Absolutely. I'm like you, Nikki. When Jimmy first contacted me to be on his podcast years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, because to me, these are the famous people that are like pioneers for the nutrition. So I've been listening to Jimmy's podcast. He knows I run to him all the time. And I just was shocked. And so then the second whammy, when he asked me to do a cookbook with him, I was just, overjoyed. And I still am. I love that book whenever I pick it up.
Well, it's beautiful too. It really is beautiful. And, I think that it's such a wonderful story for you, Maria, because, just reading your story, I started to tear up a bit because, you tell your struggle financially about your husband losing his jobs and you adopting your sons, which are adorable, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are. And so I know that this is truly your life. This is not just some, willy-nilly where people want to get famous. This is, you worked your butt off to get where you are today, and you're coming right from your heart with your recipes and with your knowledge of nutrition and wanting to help people. And that makes me want to cry.
Oh, thank you so much. No, we really were. It was a big shocker, right? About 2 months after we brought 2 boys home from Ethiopia. So babies are expensive in general. And, the whole traveling expenses, the adoption expenses, and he lost his job. And we were we would have been eating ramen if we wouldn't been, ketogenic. But we lived up from we lived in the library. We, rented books and movies, and, we didn't go out to eat, and we just changed our whole lifestyle. And Craig said, I think that we should make, Maria Mind Body Health, our main income and just work our tails off. And we really did. And, but I mean, as hard as we work, I really love it. Like, I love waking up at 4 a.m. and, talking to somebody in India. And like, it's just, I really enjoy it. Like, the alarm in the morning is not a pain in my side anymore. It's exciting. Like,
nobody loves getting up at 4 a.m.
I know, Maria. Let's get honest.
Let's be real now.
I always have. Even in high school, I worked at a coffee shop, and I made the muffins and the scones, and I was up at 4 a.m. making those. And now I just do the healthier version. So
God bless you. I was sleeping then.
It is really tough for me to wake up, and I do enjoy my days, but it is 4 a.m. is a little bit tough. So, but hey,
I'm an early riser, but that's about 6 o'clock. Yeah, early rising for me is about 6.
It might be because it's such a noisy home once the boys do wake up, which is fun too, but it's the only time that it's really quiet. So I guess it's like my sanctuary at that moment.
Mama gets peacetime, yep.
Yeah, yep.
It's mommy time is very important.
It is.
It is very important. I know I have 2 kids myself, and it is, whenever I get quiet time, it's amazing.
It's something we cherish. So we don't get a lot of quiet time here.
No, and that's okay. But kudos to you, and thank you so much for being on Mega Wellness Summit. I am honored that the both of you.
I'm honored that you asked us to be on again.
Of course.
It's the first time.
Well, Jimmy, let's go back to last year's Mega Wellness Summit. I just have a question where we left off at.
Yep.
You had mentioned that you had lost 180 pounds.
Right.
And then you also said that you gained weight back.
Yep.
And then what happened was we were going to go back to that and answer it, why you gained some weight, but we never actually addressed it. So I want to actually just clear that up for our listeners to the answer.
We've been having them wait with bated breath for a whole year. So
exactly.
So I think it's important for people to understand that weight is not just related to your diet. And I know Maria believes this strongly too, and she deals with her clients all the time coming in. They're like, I'm eating perfectly ketogenic just like you told me to. I'm even testing ketones and I'm doing really well and everything's really good, but I'm stressed out at work and I'm having difficulty sleeping and I'm having hormonal changes happening and I'm getting older, and all of these factors can bring into play weight regulation. And I think sometimes we put so much emphasis on the wrong things, thinking that diet and exercise are pretty much the be-all, end-all when it comes to your weight. But there are so many other myriad of factors that can come into play. So the stress, for me, I think has been a big reason why I gained back some weight. I was having some issues with sleep as well. And quite frankly, I'm a little bit older. And plus, I think the big one for me is I didn't get to weigh 410 pounds at one point in my life without consequences, drinking 16 cans of Coca-Cola a day and just basically a carb addict and a half without it damaging me in some way. And so that's kind of how I got to the point where I gained back some of the weight. Have I kept off the vast majority of that 180 pounds? You bet your sweet bippy I have. And I am still healthy today. Despite having a little bit extra weight, I am dealing with that in another strategy now where I'm doing some extended fasting. So I'm currently, what is this, Christine, day 11 of the fast that I've been doing. So I'm doing these extended fasts, working with a medical doctor in Toronto, Canada right now, named Dr. Jason Fung. He and I will be collaborating on a fasting book next year or later this year. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now to help deal with the insulin resistance that there is there. And I think this is something that's not talked about enough either, is an underlying insulin resistance really has to be taken care of to shift back to insulin sensitivity if you're truly going to get permanent changes in that weight loss that you're wanting to have happen.
Yeah, and similar for me as well, because I lost 30 pounds, which for me that was substantial. And, now I'm up like 15, and stress definitely plays a huge role in weight gain. And so did you ever eat carbs or any sugar?
No, that was never my issue. I know sometimes people go back to those things for comfort. For me, I was eating pretty darn clean, and this is a good take-home message. You could be doing everything right in your diet. You can be doing everything right in your exercise, and then you have stress, it's going to unravel all of that good that you're doing. And Maria, definitely chime in if you agree with this, that you see this in client after client, that they could be doing all the right things, and yet if that stress level, if that sleep level is out of whack, you're going to see consequences in weight gain.
Those people keep me awake at night. I try to fix them in my sleep, and that's when I don't like getting up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
When I'm pondering what's going on, how can I fix it? And
It's frustrating.
Well, how many carbs are really recommended in order to lose weight steadily?
Maria?
Well, first of all, I do want to emphasize that, and Jimmy, you do this often too, emphasize that ketogenic diets are not just for weight loss.
Yep.
And so even when people get discouraged that they're not losing weight, I really encourage them to keep it going because there's so many other benefits for it. But I usually suggest around 10 to 20 maximum total carbohydrates.
That's really low.
And, and a big common mistake I see is when people start subtracting fiber and they're like, I get 20 net carbohydrates a day. I said, well,
what a scam.
That is a scam. And they subtract even healthy fibrous carbohydrates that come from kale chips. That can add up very quickly. So keeping your total carbohydrates in check. And I personally, I'm in weight maintenance mode, and people are like, oh, you could probably have some sweet potatoes for Thanksgiving. Nope. I don't even want to go there because that's when the sugar cravings come back in. I don't feel good. My husband, his back pain comes back when he starts, because he's in maintenance mode too, and he notices that pain starts to come back. We eat like this all the time, and I love it. My husband said, if there was a magic pill and you could eat whatever you wanted, what would you eat right now? I said, I would just eat more of what we like, more of the ketogenic food, just because I call it the happy diet because it really does. Like I dealt with, depression when I was in high school, low moods, all that type of stuff. And I talk to people time and time again. This is the happy diet. And if you think about it, our cells and our brain, there's 70% fat. Why not fuel your body with that? So I never want to go back to even so-called healthy sweet potatoes or whatever.
So run us through your day today. It's I don't know, late afternoon where you are. So what did you have for breakfast and lunch?
Well, I guess my favorite thing in the world is hollandaise sauce, a really good hollandaise sauce. So,
that's so good.
I know. That's the thing. I love sauces. I always loved sauces, even when I was a kid. French fries as a kid were just tools to pick up more ketchup. So I still love sauces. So that's why I think this diet works so well for me. So instead of having just eggs for breakfast, I have them smothered in hollandaise sauce. And I often I have protein buns that you can find in the Ketogenic Cookbook in my freezer at all times. And I make little sandwiches. So it's kind of like an Eggs Benedict that I had for breakfast, which I'm kind of like a dog. I could eat the same thing all the time. So that's something that I have just because everything's like quick and ready to go for me. And then for my second meal, I had a big old hamburger, and then I'm working on a dessert, and so I had quite a bit of dessert because I took pictures of it and I was done with it. So we all enjoyed that. But I do only eat twice a day. I just increase my calories to keep it in maintenance mode to about 3,000 calories. But I do still, like Jimmy always often says in his podcast too, it's hard not to intermittent fast because you're so full. I can't even drink anything like hours after I eat because I'm just so extremely satisfied that, you know, I can't even imagine putting more food in there if hours afterwards. So it's kind of nice because I get so much more work done, and you have to clean the kitchen that much less. I love intermittent fasting for so many reasons.
Mhm. You know, I mostly eat a pretty high fat diet. What happened was, for me personally, is that I was on a very paleo diet, and then I had some grain. And then guess what happened?
Dun, dun, dun.
I like gained 5 pounds at a time. It was like every tortilla chip, I was like a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes on so fast when you don't have those carbohydrates. Can you explain why that is, why that happens to our body?
So there is this thing out there on the internet that's called physiological insulin resistance that happens when you eat low carb for a little while. I think it's for those people that are already existing insulin resistant, though. I don't think that the going low carb makes you physiologically insulin resistant per se, as much as it basically reveals, hey, you had underlying insulin resistance. And so someone with pretty severe insulin resistance, hello, that's me, is going to have a little more sensitivity to the carbohydrates. And so cutting them out is not a bad thing, and keeping them cut out. I think this is kind of something that's been put out there the last few years, especially from the paleo community, is, well, you should be adding the carbs back in great amounts at some point to, basically improve that sensitivity to the carbs. And I'm going, okay, you have an intolerance to carbohydrates. Why would you want to add them back in? Are we encouraging people that go into anaphylactic shock because they have peanuts to add back in a little bit of peanuts? Do we tell people that are lactose intolerant they should add back in a little bit of dairy? No. It's the same thing with these carbohydrates. So, I don't know what your experience was, trying to, why you wanted to bring them back into your diet. But I think once you realize how good you feel eating without them, you don't really want to add them back in.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of just sheer stupidity, being in San Diego, we are really, there's so many great Mexican restaurants out here. And so when I see the tortilla chips that are just freshly out of the fryer, just right there with some amazing, salsa, I'm like, dipping definitely into these amazing tortilla chips and salsa. So, that's where I went wrong. And then all of a sudden it was like,
all downhill from
pounds. There. Yeah, it really was. It just takes one thing. And like you said about the sweet potato, I totally get that. It's so very true, because you'll just start craving the sugar. It's so true. So, how do we know when we're actually in ketosis?
Well, you could test.
Mm-hmm. Can we just feel it?
What's that?
Can we just feel it? Can we be like, oh, this is amazing. I must be in ketosis.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, I don't test. I'm a minimalist with everything. I don't like gadgets. I don't like anything like that. Where my husband loves gadgets. He loves testing his ketones. Where I'm a minimalist that way.
Me and Craig are the same.
And I can feel it, and I don't cheat anymore. But I was there. I mean, I'm not saying it was always easy for me. My goodness, I never begged my husband to eat keto. This was his own journey. I was not going to force anybody to do anything. So when we would go to dinner and he would order a dessert, I love desserts. I love creme brulee, and he would order that. I would have to excuse myself to go to the washroom just to be away from that dessert, because I would be too tempted to cheat. But I've been so removed from that now, that would not bother me whatsoever. So I tell people never say never, because Craig used to brew my husband, he brewed his own beer, his own wine. We've changed 100-fold. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot your question. Testing your ketones, right?
Yeah, how do we know?
This is why I love Maria. She goes off on a tangent, and it's awesome.
There's so much to cover in an hour. There's not enough time.
You're in the right direction. Don't worry.
The problem is that when you buy into this like keto diet, people will send you like these urine strips, and that's not testing the ketones that we want to know. Those basically tell you if you're hydrated or not. They only work in the beginning. Jimmy, how do you feel about the breathalyzer? I usually recommend the blood tester.
Yeah, I can get all nerdy on you guys and tell you what all the different ones are. So the one in the urine that Maria says is not very reliable, and I agree with her, is called acetoacetate. And then the one in the blood is called beta-hydroxybutyrate. And then the one she just asked me about is the one in the breath is called acetone. So I like, if you're looking for yes, no, am I in fat burning mode or not, the breath ketone meters, which right now there's only one currently on the market. I know there are several more really, really close to getting to the mass market, but the one is called Ketonics. And if you're in yellow or red on the Ketonics, you're burning fat. And so I think it's pretty good if you just want yes, no. But if you're one of those people like me and Craig who like to know exactly how many millimolar of beta-hydroxybutyrate we have in our blood, then you really have to prick your finger. So during this experiment with the fasting I'm doing now, I'm pricking my finger morning and night, testing both blood sugar and blood ketone. So still the gold standard is the blood ketone meter. The one here in America is called Precision Extra. Around the world, they have one that's called Freestyle Neo. And it's exactly the same meter. They just look a little bit different, but from the same company, uses the same strip. So I think we're going to get the Freestyle Neo here in America soon. But easy to test, just a little bit pricey, Nikki. I had to actually order some blood ketone strips from Australia. I got them for about $1 a piece. But here in America, if you try to get them on Amazon.com, it's going to be about $5 a piece. So it can be pricey, but it gives you such critical information to know if you're doing this well or not.
Interesting. So what I would like is just to go, really, I think you could just go off of your book. And because this is the guide to eating ketogenic. So if you buy all of Jimmy's books for one. And Maria, you have 8 books. I mean, come on, girl. Your head is always in the computer, right?
And she's working on a 9th one. That's what's crazy.
Oh my gosh. You have
working.
Keto Adapted, The Art of Eating Healthy. I love all your kid cookbooks. Are you kidding me? Those are amazing. And then
there's nothing that makes me happier than hanging out in the kitchen and cooking and teaching people how to cook and teaching my kids how to cook. Like, that's just where I belong.
Amen to that. And did you know that I'm a chef?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I even
am.
higher praise that she likes our book. It's even higher praise now, right?
That is, yeah. Wow.
Well, and I just really have to say that these recipes are really, really put together very well. And for someone who I write recipes all the time, and I look at recipes and evaluate them too, and these are really, really great. So and very easy to follow. This is what I can't stand. When I get a recipe and it has 18 ingredients, and I'm like, where am I going to go get all of these ingredients?
And some of them you can't pronounce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I have to fly to France to go and get it. Or, so it's so easy and practical. And they're ingredients that are already in people's cabinets. If it's not, then they need to reevaluate what's in their cupboards already and in the refrigerator, and go get the book and start cleaning out the refrigerator, their cabinets, and start on this lifestyle. Because really, I'm inspired today. So thank you.
Aww,
and
that means a lot.
Yes, I am inspired. And so I just have a few more questions for you, too, about protein. You mentioned in the book that you noticed that protein was causing people to also gain weight, or there just wasn't really a difference when you were, giving people protein. And so you also were saying that protein turns into a sugar. So how much protein do we actually need during the day to not turn into sugar?
So this is going to vary from person to person, and it's going to go back to that insulin resistance I was talking about a while ago, that if you're very sensitive to carbohydrates because of your insulin resistance, it stands to reason you're also going to be very sensitive to what's called the gluconeogenetic effect. Don't let that word scare you, but gluconeogenesis is all about where you consume protein more than the body can use, then that extra protein gets sent to the liver and is converted into glucose. Now, how much protein does one individual need to have? You're going to have to tinker and test and figure out what that is. For me, I eat around 25 to 30 grams of total carbohydrate in a day. That means I'm really sensitive to the carbs. So it stands to reason I'm also going to be sensitive to the protein as well. So I have to keep my protein somewhere between about 80 to 100 grams a day, a little more on the days that I work out, a little less on the days I don't. And that keeps it down so that I don't get the extra glucose. Because the point of being ketogenic is to try to eliminate those areas in your diet and lifestyle that would be raising blood sugar. So carbs and sugars and that kind of thing is the well duh. But what a lot of people didn't realize was that protein was causing issues too. So you kind of have to tinker and test. I would say start at 20 grams of carbs, start at 100 grams of protein, and then tinker up or down from there to see how you do.
Well, so give us, Jimmy, what did you eat today?
I'm fasting on 11th day, so I've had 0 to eat.
Are you kidding me? 11 days?
This is my 11th day. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. I'm currently in the midst of a full-on extended fast. I'm trying to go probably around 15 to 18 days this time. I did a 17-and-a-half day a couple of months ago, trying to heal some of this damage from my past choices, and so fasting is helping with that. So I've had nothing to eat today. But in a typical day, it would be very similar to what you heard from Maria. Eggs with bacon, maybe some avocado with a nice fatty sauce. I can do that very easily. Obviously cooked in butter, grass-fed butter, and or coconut oil, and then meat and vegetables. I'm pretty monolithic in my eating as well. I know people like variety, which is why the Ketogenic Cookbook is so amazing, because you get all these choices of different foods that you can make every single day, and you won't go through them. There's so many possibilities you can combine them. And the zucchini tots, please get the book just for the zucchini tots. That stuff is amazing. I've taken those to parties, Maria, and people are like, whoa, where did this come from? What is this? I'm like, it's called a zucchini tot. They're like, there's vegetables in it? They couldn't believe it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That is awesome. And I'm still on the fact that you are fasting for 11 days. But
we'll be for a few more days. Yep.
Wow. Is it hard to wake up and just be like, oh, nothing to eat today? Just another day of water.
No, I think
water, right?
I'm doing water, and I'm doing bone broth with sea salt to kind of help keep the electrolytes in balance, because I've tried to do it with water. I only made it about 3 days before the headache overtook me and I couldn't handle it anymore, but I knew that was electrolyte imbalance. So getting ample amounts of salt in it is so critical. And then I also am having a little bit of kombucha to try to keep the gut health stuff going while I'm doing this. But it's pretty profound. And no, after the day 3, so day 1 is easy because I'm used to fasting for 24 hours. That's easy. Day 2 is really hard. Day 3 gets a little better. And by day 4, I don't even feel like I haven't had food. It's pretty euphoric. It's amazing once you get past those first couple of days how awesome it is. I would love to talk to you about it maybe next year, once we kind of gone through this for a year.
Let's do that.
Yep.
Let's do it for sure. Because that might be something that I should do too. I know that I have an issue with my blood sugar. And so you do too, right, Jimmy?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's kind of normalized doing this. I was having like low 100s, low like 105, 104, and it's now easily in the 80s now. Well, you would hope in day 11 it would be in the 80s by now. And ketones, of course, have gone up, blood sugar gone down, and hunger obviously is not there. It's pretty awesome, and it's definitely not something for everybody. I definitely wouldn't think somebody like Maria, who's already in weight maintenance mode and probably isn't dealing with a lot of issues, ketogenic's doing exactly what it needs to do for her, getting that insulin under control to keep her happy and healthy. Whereas somebody like me, even though I'm eating ketogenic, it's not quite getting me to my goals. And so adding this extra step may be necessary for some people.
Mm-hmm. And I have a fainting issue too, so I don't know how that would play in a part with me.
A fainting issue? What's that?
Fainting.
Oh, I got you. Feigning issue. Yeah, don't
fainting.
Faint. Don't faint.
Yeah, because if I don't have if my electrolytes are off or my blood sugar is low, really low, then I become severely dehydrated, and then I'm down on the ground.
Yeah, so drink plenty and get plenty of salt while you do it. And the interesting thing is a lot of people have been doing this with me. I've been doing my updates on Periscope. And so people have been following me, and they've been doing their own fast. And, one person said they had a 53 blood sugar. And I said, I bet your blood ketones are really, really high. They're like, yeah, it's like 6.8. And I'm going, yep, that's what happens, because when you don't have a need for glucose, basically you've lowered that need in the body for glucose, it's going to go down, and the ketones actually step in the place of where that blood sugar was, so that now you have plenty of energy, even though you would have what most doctors would think is hypoglycemia, but without the symptoms of hypoglycemia.
Got it. So what do you think is a healthy amount of days to fast?
It's going to depend from person to person. Definitely don't do it on your own. I think having some sort of medical care. I mean, I'm working with Dr. Fung directly on this, so it's kind of cool. I have that access. But I think, if most people want to just intermittent fast, kind of do a 16-8, where they try to fast for maybe 16 hours, and then within an 8-hour, eating window, that could probably work for a lot of people. Like I said, in conjunction with a ketogenic diet, eat, ketogenic with that 8 hours, and then fast for 16. How do you do with that? Most people that are truly ketogenic, and I'm sure Maria has clients that can kind of attest to this, they're doing that already. It's just happening. She didn't have to tell them, you should try to intermittent fast. No, they're doing it because they're just not hungry, right, Maria?
Yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah. So then if that's not working enough, then maybe push it a few days, 3 or 4 days, see how you do. I remember the first time I tried to fast, I made it about 3 days, and yeah, it was just water, and the headache overtook me. And so I learned a little bit of lesson there. So the next time I fasted, I added in the salt, and, I just kind of did all these things methodically. And then when I did the 17.5-day one a couple months ago, it was my longest one I've ever done. It was pretty easy. And I was surprised at how easy it was, considering I had only gone about 6 or 7 days at the longest before that one. So, and this current one's in day 11, hoping to get to about 15 to 18 days, and then I'm going to do it again in the new year. And I think this is going to be a part of my life for a little while, just to kind of see, can we truly heal this insulin resistance and get insulin sensitivity back? I'm in my mid-40s now. It's time to get this under control for good. And thankfully, in the interim, keto is keeping me healthy, even if the weight's being a you-know-what.
Well, thank you for that. That was awesome.
So, can I ask, Jimmy, did you cut dairy at all?
Well, when I'm not eating anything at all, yes, I've cut dairy. But no, in my ketogenic, I have not completely cut dairy. I still have cheese.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
But I did replace the cream with coconut milk.
Okay. That was really difficult for our family because we cut it out for my son, and living that way for many months was very, very difficult. And
yeah,
because living in Wisconsin, we do love our cheese.
Oh yeah.
Who does? All those cheese curds, those things are so disgusting.
You haven't had a good cheese curd.
That's because
you have to get them fresh.
I didn't grow up there.
Squeaky. Oh, you did grow up there. That's right.
I didn't grow up there. I grew up in LA, but I lived there for 8 years, and people were like, here's a cheese curd. And then it's squeaking on my teeth, and I'm like, what the heck? And they're like, it's better. The squeakier, the better. I'm like, no, the squeaky is not sitting well with me. I don't like it. But yes, I do know that you do love your cheese. But, this is what I loved about Wisconsin versus California. You could drive to someone's house and honk your horn and get grass-fed beef.
Yeah.
And they would come out, and they're like, hey, how are you? And that you would pay your $30-something, and you get your grass-fed beef. You get a whole bunch of it. Here, I'm like, this is grass-fed, and it doesn't taste grass-fed. It doesn't look grass-fed. It doesn't look like meat at all. So I can see why people are vegetarians here, because the meat quality is horrible compared to what I had in Wisconsin.
Well, you got a drought right now, too. That doesn't help.
We do have vegetarian meal plans in the book. Hello.
Yes, I know. You guys are just, it's all over. It's the spectrum. It's amazing. And
I have a lot of people that are vegetarian that want to do keto, and it's like, well, it's not a high-protein diet. It's okay. You can do that. But,
yeah,
you're right. It is nice. I mean, you drive down the street and you pass, like, 4 houses that have farm fresh eggs,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's just talk
like
about
$2 a dozen.
Because we're talking about Wisconsin a little bit. Wisconsin has the best custard, and you have a recipe in here, pumpkin pie frozen custard. Are you kidding me? This is amazing.
Thank
2
you.
cups of canned full-fat coconut milk.
Shops.
Yeah, and it's dairy-free. Dairy-free.
And it's good. The coconut milk is I just did a podcast the other day, and she talked about how when you step back from using sugar and stuff, things naturally taste sweet. She didn't even add any stevia or anything to her dessert. She said, the coconut milk, it does taste sweet. Like it's a sweet treat. Even coconut oil does too. And so when you step back and like fix your palate a bit, or change it, then it's just amazing how much flavor. I think that there's a really good book called the Dorito Effect, and how we crave these flavorful foods, but chicken soup is never going to taste like our great grandmothers anymore, because the chicken is no longer fed what grandma's chicken was fed. So it's very bland compared to what we're used to now. And even the celery that we grow, the nutrients in our soil, like it just doesn't have the intense flavor. And so what I like to do is really spend money on, quality food that has a lot of flavor. And then, you're more likely to stay on the diet and enjoy the food rather than needing the Doritos to get that brain stimulation going, that we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
The name of that author, by the way, is Mark Schatzer of the Dorito Effect, if people want to get that.
Oh, have you talked to him?
Thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah, he's been on my podcast. Yep.
Oh, I'll have to get that.
So we can actually go to your podcast and look up the.
If you can spell Schatzer, yeah. If you type in the Dorito Effect in my name, you'll find it in a Google search.
Perfect. Now, I'll start with you, Jimmy. What is your favorite healthiest fat to eat?
Ooh, that's like saying, who's my favorite child? I love grass-fed butter as kind of a basic fat for most things. And that's the saturated fat that I love. Of course, I do love coconut oil, use it a lot as well. And those are my 2 go-to kind of saturated fats. Of course, lard would be acceptable. If you can't handle the dairy, definitely ghee would be an acceptable fat that would be amazing. And all of those would be great saturated fats. As far as monounsaturated fats, I'd have to say avocado oil and macadamia nut oil. Those are my 2 favorites on that side. So I have lots of favorites.
Okay, Maria, your turn.
My favorite fats. I guess I love to use sauces as a way to make even a steak more ketogenic. So I really love using MCT oil to make different salad dressings, and just playing with the different flavors. So like making a healthy, like a French dressing with the MCT oil, and a Greek dressing, all of these things can be dairy-free. I love making pesto with MCT oil. So I guess MCT oil is one of my favorites. Coconut oil is great for making desserts, because it, again, it naturally makes it sweet. I do love my butter. But when we were going dairy-free for a long time, it was like, nothing's like butter. But, you just find other ways to really enjoy that. I mean, bacon fat is awesome for making hollandaise. I just made a bunch of diced bacon and saved the fat for making some baconaise.
Yeah, we have baconaise in the Ketogenic Cookbook. Yep.
So as soon as I have enough, I'm going to make another batch of that. But, gosh, there's so many. There's so many good ones.
Well,
Not
you
a fair
have a
question,
lot.
Nikki.
You guys have so many to choose from your book. I really want to thank you so much for spending this time with me and sharing your stories with me and writing this amazing book and all of your books and sharing your next journey with me as well. So I'm so grateful, and you guys are truly amazing. I will have links to both of your websites, easy access to connect with you on social media, and I'll even have a link to the Dorito effect. How about that?
There you go.
Off on my tangent. I know, Jimmy.
We love the tangents, Maria.
I love it, too. Thank you guys so much for being on the call.
Thank
you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. You guys have a great, wonderful day, okay?
You too.
You too.